Hi guys, I've been watching the recent SONA of President Duterte, and it got me thinking this morning. I've received a lot of comments, and it got me thinking. Would you rather have a leader or a president who uses lots of fine words, who comes up with lots of policies and, if you like, explanations about what's happening in the country, but the reality is they're not honest with you, or they make up so many stories of how they're doing so wonderfully, and yet the truth is there are issues, and yet there are problems. Now that's what I like about President Duterte. He actually tells the truth. It's like he's sitting down in your living room or sitting down in your house, laying it on the line, saying exactly what's happening in the Philippines. You see, the recent State of the Nation address, President Duterte admitted where there are problems. He openly admitted that the recent SAP program, or a program that helps people in need, wasn't perfect. And there were issues with it, and people were taking money, and he said that he's going to go after these people sooner rather than later. He wasn't hiding. He didn't say that everything was perfect. He admitted that there were issues, and those responsible for causing those issues would be dealt with. See, that's the thing I like about the president. He tells you exactly as it is, even on the China issue. He said, well, what am I going to do? He didn't create the problem, he inherited the problem. And he made it very clear that the Philippines doesn't have the money to go to war. He told the truth. He said this quite a bit recently, that everything's very expensive right now, and if the vaccine isn't sought soon, or a solution isn't sought soon, then the Philippines is in deep shit. He used those words in a recent address to the nation. This is a president who cares. This is a president who truly understands exactly what's going on in the Philippines, and as I said, doesn't use fancy words, doesn't use any kind of political cover-ups, if you like, or doesn't use any words that people exactly want to hear. Instead, he sits down, he tells the truth, he tells the Filipino people exactly what's going on, and people say that he doesn't have a plan. He does have a plan. His plan is very clear. His plan is a comfortable life for all Filipinos. His plan is a light at the end of the tunnel, i.e. a vaccine. President Duterte is hoping that he can acquire a vaccine. In the meantime, he's basically told people what's happening. He's given the real situation. He's said to people that things will be difficult, but this is my plan. And to Rorbero, who's come up with this 20-point plan of how she feels that she's going to deal with these issues. You know, it's great to say the office of the vice president has got a limited budget and I'm somehow using my budget to help the Filipino people. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but the office of the vice president, that budget is paid for out of taxes from the Philippine people. It's not as though she's dipped into her own pocket and she's somehow used her own money to pay for free buses or to pay for food or to pay for PPE. She has a budget and she's chosen to use that in that way. So, you know, the thing is, to the critics, what I say is this. You know, if you want to criticize, can you do any better? Can you change things in any way? Can you think that this is a problem of the Philippines? The COVID-19 pandemic is a worldwide problem. And it's not something that's just happening in the Philippines. So it makes me say that, you know, what was the country supposed to do? What was the president supposed to do? How could he solve it. All he can do is just do like the rest of the world is doing, i.e. Have a quarantine, have certain measures in place with masks and social distancing. And this is what other countries are doing too. You know, President Duterte has said this before. He's just following the science. He's just listening to his scientific advisors. He's not doing anything. He's not putting into place any harsh policies that would affect the Filipino people. In fact, what the Philippines is doing right now is listening to the science and putting in policies in place that save lives. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. The death toll in the Philippines in total, that means in the 4 months, in the last 4 months where this has been going on, the death toll in the Philippines in total is 2,000 deaths. And of course that's very, very sad, that's very regrettable. But if you compare that to some Western countries where there was a death toll of 2,000 in 4 days, you can see that the measures put into the place by the Philippines are working. The measures put into place by President Duterte, by the Philippine government, by the Duterte administration are working. They are saving lives. I'd ask, what was the opposition do? How would they do anything differently? What is their roadmap? What is their plan? How do they want to beat COVID-19? Roberto talks about mass testing. Well, you have to be realistic. There are 110 million Filipinos in the Philippines. If you wanted to do mass testing, how many of them would you test? You know, these test kits aren't free. This testing isn't free. Even if you tested, say, 1 million people, that's not mass testing as such. Mass testing means testing every single Filipino. Is this what you're asking for? You do the maths yourself. You look at the cost of testing 110 million Filipinos, and if you have the money in your limited budget, then maybe then you wanted to pay that 110 million Filipinos times £100 each. You do the maths. You know, it's not possible to test everyone. It's not possible to test mass test. Of course, you know, where there is a cause, where there is a suspicion of COVID-19 in a particular area or through contact tracing, yes, of course, then you should test as many people as you can. But I don't understand how your policy of mass testing or your idea of mass testing is any different to the government. I don't understand how you would have this miraculous magic wand if you were in power or President Aquino was back in power, God forbid. I really don't know how you would have done any differently. You would have just been doing exactly the same thing. You would have had some kind of quarantine in place. If you didn't have, how would you deal with COVID-19? If you didn't ask the Filipino public to wear masks, if you didn't have social distancing, if you didn't limit Filipinos going on the street, how would you deal with it? So the fact is, as I said before, President Duterte is not somebody who uses big political words. He's not somebody who hides behind rhetoric or hides behind policies that nobody ever reads. He sits down at the table, inside your home almost, and tells you exactly what's going on. And the State of the Nation address was honest. He was honest. He was laying it on the line. He was telling the Filipino people exactly what was going on and exactly what he wanted to do to be able to solve the situation. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.